Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome for another edition of the Mavpuckcast. How's it going?
It's going
John's
well.
here.
Yeah.
Say hi, John.
Hello.
In addition to John, we have a special guest with us. We have Dan Bailey, who, for the diehard Maverick fans out there, might remember him in an Air Force jersey about 4 years ago, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yep. Fall of 2015.
So Dan's coming in, joined us, and we'll get a chance to kind of talk to him and ask him some questions about playing college hockey, specifically, really about playing here in Omaha and getting to see Baxter Arena open up. But I think we should start with kind of your journey to college hockey. You're a St. Cloud kid, right?
Yeah, originally from St. Cloud.
So talk to us a little bit about, how you got into college hockey and how you chose to head all the way to the Colorado Springs and join the Air Force.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a funny story, but I didn't really have much college or junior attention. Going into my senior year, I was kind of a late bloomer size-wise. So I grew a bunch, had a good senior season. And then going into the summer, there were a few junior teams in the NA that were kind of wishy-washy, like, yeah, come try out. We'll see where you're at sort of thing.
Okay.
And I had a good scholarship to Creighton University, so I just kind of went with that. And I was originally going to Creighton here in town. And I was at freshman orientation, and Coach Berg at Air Force called me up, wanted me to come out and visit. They got me set up with the Wenatchee Wild. So it all kind of flipped last second.
Wow.
And started playing juniors, and then they offered me in September. But it's kind of funny because my older brother, Mike, played junior hockey and didn't have the greatest experience with it. And so my mom was like, absolutely not, to see, over my dead body as he playing junior hockey. And but her contingency was he's not playing junior hockey over my dead body unless it's like Air Force or Ivy League or something like that. So
right.
So of course I get off the phone with Coach Berg and I call my mom and I go, hey, Air Force called. So that was kind of funny. She swallowed her words on that one. But yeah, so I mean, college hockey, it was always like a goal or a dream sort of thing growing up in Minnesota, especially, but just kind of the, growing late and not getting a lot of attention, kind of a smaller high school, just kind of came up late, and Air Force happened to call, and I wanted to use hockey as a tool to kind of set up opportunities in life, school-wise or career-wise, and so Air Force was kind of a perfect fit for that, and I knew a little bit about the program. My neighbor growing up, he was a captain at Air Force back in 2012, I believe. So had a good background.
Cool.
Yeah, had a good.
So you
background.
kind of knew about the program and
yeah. So I had a decent background with kind of Air Force hockey and just like the school in general. So I had a decent knowledge of what I was getting myself into. But
that's a good thing. I have a tendency to jump into things without knowing anything and just kind of figure it as I go along.
Yeah, which I think some students show up there and go, what is going on? But so yeah, I had a decent knowledge and some good people around me. So kind of a funny paths being stationed back in Omaha.
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Originally trying to end up at Creighton and liking Omaha as a city, so it's kind of nice coming full circle.
I was going to say, did you have a previous connection to Creighton in Omaha?
For whatever reason, my high school just had like every year 3 or 4 people going to Creighton University.
Oh, that's interesting.
And one of my best friends, he still lives in town. His older sister at the time was at Creighton University, and so we came down for a weekend and saw Omaha, and she was our tour guide basically, and just really liked the school and liked that it had like a somewhat national campus, people from all over coming to Creighton, so I really liked that, and just kind of fell in love with Omaha, kind of like big enough where you're never bored, but small enough where you're not overwhelmed sort of thing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I really liked Omaha. So when I got stationed here, people thought, "Oh, Nebraska," and I was like, "No, Omaha's good stuff."
We're good.
Yeah,
we're good. Don't worry. Yeah,
but so I was happy with getting stationed here for sure.
So when you came here your freshman year to play for the opening of Baxter Arena and all that jazz, you knew the area at least some, so there was some familiarity. But what was that atmosphere like? What did you think?
Memories of that series?
Yeah.
just like the buzz around it was crazy. Just a sold out crowd. What is it, like 8,000 or something like that in Baxter? Jim Corneliuson, who sings for the Blackhawks, their national anthem.
That's right. He did do the national anthem.
Yeah, he sang the national anthem for that game, and he was he like met up with us the day before too, and just kind of chatted with us, and
that's cool.
It was kind of surreal, especially watching the Blackhawks make their run. And then, I've been to Blackhawks games too, where it's just going nuts in there when he's singing. So having him singing, and that was like I think the second or third series of my college career, so it was just like I was playing Wenatchee Wild hockey just like a few months ago, so it was pretty surreal, especially being a freshman. You're just nervous trying to make the right play, stay in the lineup, but this the environment was awesome. The rink, just like the ice, everything was just really, really awesome.
And then you're staring down the other side at the likes of Gensel and Ortega. And...
that was the one thing too. I mean, Ortega had a hell of a weekend. Gensel, obviously, everyone knows who he is, but it was also really cool too because I had like two childhood friends on the other side that I haven't seen since I was like 9 or 10.
Oh.
Because originally I grew up in Eden Prairie for about 10 years and then moved up to St. Cloud. And so Steven Spinner, we were pretty close growing up, and then I hadn't seen him, like I said, until I was 9 or 10, and just kind of like looking at each other like, this is weird. I haven't seen you since I was 9, so it's not like we're best buds out here, but just like But
I remember you.
Yeah, it was one of those things like, hey, I remember you, sort of thing. So going through the line after the games, that was cool.
Yeah. That's interesting because we were talking about. I was talking to some friends that have kids in youth hockey here in Omaha, and we were talking about how it seems like because of the age gaps and the number of travel teams that exist and things, that even here in Omaha I'll play with my best friend this year, and then maybe I don't play with him for a year or two or something like that, and then you come back and you play on the same team again. So it's kind of cool to know that some of those things are like you might play with someone when you're in Pee-wees or something, and then just suddenly in college, you're up against that same kid, and that's kind of a cool experience. And
I mean, when you're
how small of a community hockey is, even in a big state like Minnesota.
Where hockey's so extensive up there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even there, I think, like you said, like going through just like younger age hockey and the juniors, it's kind of like you think it's this big, huge, crazy hockey world. You're just trying to make it to college, sort of thing. But it like you said, it's really a small world. Every team you're playing, someone played juniors with them or grew up with them or something. So the connections are crazy. I mean, even playing UNO, I remember Wednesday or Thursday when we got into town, when we came to the rink to practice for the first time, like 3 or 4 guys came over and were just kind of talking with us in the stands while we were taping our sticks, getting ready. They were working out or doing something, and they were just kind of, talking about juniors and funny stories and stuff. So it's just like, no matter who you play, I feel like there's always that mutual, like, oh, I know someone on that team or grew up with them or...
You'll see guys after the game who are talking like they know each other, and you're always like, did they play together? Or...
Yeah, and then Snuggerud was the other one, too. Grew up playing with him a bit. Our dads worked together when we lived down in the cities, so it was cool seeing him, too. So it was kind of a fun weekend, especially for me. First few experiences with college hockey, not a bad environment to come into.
So I got to ask you, because he's a very popular coach around here. He was here during the Lancers' heyday. Coach Frank Serratore, one of my favorite coaches. I love seeing him on Twitter. I got to ask you, so how was it? And I know the people out there listening are going to want to know, how was it playing for Coach Serratore? Because we've all wondered what it's like. Cause
it was entertaining for sure. You couldn't ask for a more passionate guy, whether it was off season or as soon as the season came around. You couldn't ask for more passion. Like, I mean, if you ever disagreed with him or with a system or just a point he was making, you could never fault him for his passion. He was just a hoot to have around the rink, to have around in the summer. He definitely, I think part of his reputation is that passion, and, which can be intimidating at times.
Sure.
When it's game mode, it's all business, and that passion for some may come off as intimidating, but it's kind of funny going into Air Force thinking like, oh, it's big intimidating, Coach Frank sort of thing. But I mean, he does anything and everything for his players, which I think is a side of maybe his reputation everyone doesn't know. I don't know. They just
Right.
see the on
Yeah,
the bench.
The kind of the larger than life.
Yeah.
He was a finalist for the UNO job back in '96, and we thought he was going to get higher, and then they ended up going with Mike Kemp at the end. But I've often wondered what it would have been like, because I remember one of our early series that in UNO hockey, when Air Force came in, he was so entertaining at the Blue Line lunch. It was almost like he was doing a roast. He was hilarious, and he seems like a great guy, and he's done a great job with Air Force. So.
Yeah, he really has. I mean, he really took that program to the next level, especially starting in the late 2000s. Just putting Air Force hockey on the map. And yeah, he's just a passionate guy. You could probably write a New York bestseller with his one-liners.
I'll bet you could.
But yeah, so never a dull moment with Frank, which is always good coming to the rink.
Yep.
Like, in the doldrums of day-to-day stuff, mid-season, it's Frank is easy to either light a fire under us or make a joke or get into you. So he was a great coach to play for sure.
How was he different than other coaches you've played for? Was the atmosphere, like playing at a service academy, that much different from playing juniors?
I think that's one thing Frank did well. So I'd say my high school coach was kind of more the buddy, like players coach kind of guy. Like we all had a very close relationship with them, in a personal way. And then I go to juniors with Bliss Littler up in Wenatchee, who's one of the more, not most, respected coaches in junior hockey.
Right.
His rap sheet just goes on forever, but he was 100% business, and so that gets a different element out of you as a player. Like I think personal conversations, I maybe had one the whole year, and it was always film or just business on the bench or during practice and stuff. Which junior hockey is definitely more of a business, so I get that. But then I think Frank did a good job of just like combining both of those, I guess, especially at a service academy. Okay. He knew, like, all right, we don't expect you to all be, he always said, we don't expect you to be choir boys up on the hill as like campus. It's called the Hill. He's like, we don't expect you to be choir boys. We understand that there's extra rules with the military academy and stuff like that. But he also understood, like, when it was our opportunity to let loose and just be boys for a little bit, he definitely gave us the trust and kind of leeway to kind of get away from the pressures that some other schools don't really experience. So he did a good job of understanding kind of the differences of what we were going through.
So would you say that on ice and kind of the hockey component of college hockey, I mean, would you say that that's pretty normal, whether you're at a service academy or whether you're at a school like UNO?
I think the hockey component is probably relatively similar. I think it's just the differences of what's on our plate, where I remember talking to some of the UNO guys, for example, just saying, get up at a certain time and go lift, and then maybe go to your couple classes, and then kind of hang out at the rink, get ready for practice, where we had so many responsibilities from, like 7 a.m. until 3:30, and then we're going down to practice and coming back up for dinner. So I think it was just at Air Force, just a difference of like compartmentalizing. Okay, I'm at school, I'm doing my military, whatever. Now I'm going down to the rink, which I think was like healthy for us for sure.
Adding that component probably just kind of requires that regimen to keep everything stable.
Yeah, because that's what I've wondered about, is what it's like. Yeah, what your day-to-day is, because a lot of times in college you've got a lot of free time, and so I wondered what that was like. I mean, are you up at a certain time every morning?
Yeah. So like the usual day was by 6:45 you had to be out in the hallway in your uniform, and it was just once in a while there'd be like a uniform inspection, someone just come over and make sure you're looking fine, but some announcements. You live in a squadron with like 100 people of different classes, about 25 each. So that's at 6:45. Go to breakfast, and then first class at 7:30, second 8:30, 9:30, 10:30. And then the entire wing, like the entire school, would form up out on like the quad, basically, march to lunch. And then lunch would end around like 12:20. If you had an afternoon class, you'd go to that for an hour until like 1:30, and then kind of try to get a quick nap or something before film and work out and practice and stuff, and then come out at like 6:30, eat, do homework, and.
So how was that with traveling? Because obviously playing in Atlantic hockey, you guys are flying all over the country. How was keeping up with schoolwork and all of that at the Air Force Academy with the travel schedule that you guys have for hockey? Because it's
it was. I think people would be surprised how well the travel worked out for us, the school element of that, since like the teachers aren't necessarily focused on research at the academy like other universities, so it's not like we're pulling away if we need tutors. It wasn't like we were pulling them away from some other research or some other duty. So they were very willing and almost just like, hey, you guys need a math tutor? Like, come on.
Exactly.
They're like, I don't mind going to Boston this weekend.
I was going to say, that's awesome.
With free food and flights and all that. But no, it was really nice. So it was almost like clockwork. We would just have our home weekend, and then the away weekend we'd practice Wednesday, leave after class on Wednesday, get in Wednesday night, which not a lot of teams do. A lot of teams travel on Thursday in our league. So getting that extra night of sleep, extra night to adjust to, the new schedule, getting ready for the weekend was awesome. On the road, we'd have, for freshmen, it was mandatory study halls after breakfast. But, I mean, after freshman year, it was kind of pretty much on your own academically. Just make sure you're doing well. And as a team, we did do well academically, so that gave us even more leeway when, like, hey, can we miss this extra day just to get to Boston, New York, Connecticut, whatever. A day earlier than other teams do. So I think because we had some ridiculous stat going, but our road record while I was there was like top 5 in the country or something, I want to say, in the second half of the season especially. And that was definitely because Frank pushed for that extra night away. Especially freshman year, that's awesome because freshman year at the academy, you get kind of the extra training, I guess. So getting out of that environment, especially as a freshman when you got a bunch of extra stuff to deal with, what was nice too.
Definitely. It's definitely interesting. So what were some of your highlights during your career with other than playing at Baxter Arena your freshman season? What were some of the highlight moments?
I'd say my first career goal was a game winner against Army, and I know when people think of college hockey rivalries, it's like, Minnesota, North Dakota, and kind of those powerhouses, BU, BC kind of stuff. But, not to be cheesy, but like the Air Force Army, rivalry, I guess, just has a different feel to it. We hate each other's guts, but at the same time, there's mutual respect. We're going to be on the same team come 4 years sort of thing. And, we just beat the crap out of each other for 60 plus minutes. And then after each game, the seniors from each team stand on the red line together as they play each school's alma maters, which was really cool, especially as a senior, kind of standing there next to guys that you just learn to respect, but you also just want to beat the hell out of them a little bit. But so I'd say just that rivalry and having that be kind of like my first goal was, comes to mind. I'd say the other one was beating St. Cloud my junior year in the NCAA tournament, being a St. Cloud kid. And that game, we had so many injuries throughout the year up the middle that they moved me up to center. So I was playing center in the NCAA tournament on our fourth line, and I remember, just knowing the St. Cloud guys. I remember going to a couple face-offs, and they're like, "What are you doing up here?" So that was pretty fun to fly around up at forward. We ended up winning that game 4-1.
Was that in Sioux Falls?
Yeah, up in Sioux Falls. Yeah,
Bridget and I almost went up to that. That upset was awesome.
Yeah, so that was the second of our 2 Elite 8 appearances when I was at Air Force. But it was pretty cool beating St. Cloud, playing well. We did well both years in the NCAA tournament. We ended up losing to UMD 2-1 that year, but just kind of going to Husky games growing up, and even though I was more of a Gopher fan, which was like a heresy in St. Cloud.
I was going to say,
yeah. Keep that under wraps a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of fun growing up, just people looking at me when I'd have a Gopher sweatshirt on at school. They're like, "What are you doing?" But so, that was pretty special, especially with I had a ton of family and friends come down from St. Cloud for it. And, It was also kind of funny going home after that. We, lost at UMD, and then that was our spring break, so I just went straight home to St. Cloud, so just kind of walking around town and running into people, and they're like, what the heck, man? But, yeah, so that was pretty special. Huh? Yeah, so couldn't write that any better than it worked out, and that was kind of one of those Frank Serratori moments in his press conference. He just sits down and goes, no one's happier than me right now except for Danny Bailey. So that was pretty good.
That's awesome. So in all your time playing, because you primarily played defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were there players that you remember that you just, oh man, I just not looking forward to having to defend him or...
Yeah, obviously UNO, it was like Gensel, he took a stride and he was through the neutral zone, and you're like, where'd he go? But he was so
like
fast.
you do to me in hockey.
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
In our conference, I'd have to think about that one. I think overall, just as a team, it wasn't like an oh no, but one of those teams that was just never gave you an easy time was definitely RIT.
Yeah.
We battled each other. For some reason, we had them in their building, and it always seems like they gave us a run for our money in our building. So we kind of gained a bit of a rivalry with them during my 4 years, or at least grew it.
For as long as I remember, that's been a team that even if they're not performing well as a whole, conference play they always seem to turn it on, and they're just it never seems, it's a team that I don't ever remember getting just like blown out by anything. They always just seem to be working hard and in every game, so I can see that coming.
Yeah, and Army's goalie, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, but him for a while, he was just a brick wall. Yeah. We could dominate the whole game, and we know it's going to be a one-goal game regardless of how they play, how we play. So that was always one of those ones where you're never comfortable going into that game just because he was that good. And I think he ended up trying to sign with San Jose. I can't remember how the whole military commitment worked out with him, because I remember the year he graduated, the rules were changing, and it was kind of a mess.
Oh, so he's right in that transition, because there used to be that they got the deferment.
Yeah. So it changed a bunch of times when I was there.
Yeah, that's it, because I've kind of been confused about that. So
yeah,
because knowing you guys have to do your military commitment after, how does that affect guys who want to go play minor league hockey?
Yeah, so for hockey it's different, because for most of the other sports, they could get away with, it was called the World Class Athlete Program, where if you were a good enough athlete, you could train for the Olympics for 2 years, or 3 years, whatever it took to get to your event, and then take your shot at being pro throughout those couple of years, train for the Olympics. But since hockey up until last year was, the NHL players in the Olympics for the most part, we could never really argue getting the World Class Athlete Program.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah.
But, so that was part of it. But then coming in, the rule was, so you're committed to Air Force once you set foot on campus junior year. So before that, you can leave. So like my roommate, Shane Starrett, he's a goalie. He left after sophomore year and he signed with Edmonton. So he didn't owe Air Force anything.
Okay.
And then, so it used to be, if you sign a pro contract, get drafted, whatever, you can do 2 years of service and then go play.
Okay.
But then my sophomore year, at the beginning of the year, they changed it to, if you sign a pro contract, then you just have to be in the reserves when you're done, which was awesome. Or like, recruiting is going to pick up.
Sure.
It's a great deal for those handful of athletes that, bloom and have those opportunities. But then in spring of the same year, they retracted that on the day of the NFL draft, actually, which really sucked for a couple. Which really sucked for a couple of those guys, which they're definitely still bitter about, and I would be too. But so then I went back to the more strict side of things. But then recently, Trump has been making comments, I believe, about if an athlete has an opportunity to do so, they should have that opportunity. My goalie, Billy Christopoulos, who was in my same class, so we got 2 pro goalies in our same class. So as a defenseman, I didn't have too hard of a job, but
you feel pretty good about what's behind
you. He's at camp right now, actually, with the Hershey Bears. So so he got the world class athlete program. Because amateurs played in the last Olympics, or non-NHL players did. So that's how this time we could argue like he's got a shot. He's been one of the better goaltenders in the country. So we're all excited to see how he does, as well as
there was a point where they gave you a 2-year deferment. So it was basically once you got out, you could apply for this 2 years and go out and Jon, 2 years.
2 years.
Running gag. So you could apply for your 2 years, and then essentially you got 2 years to kind of like make a go of it and see if you could actually get on with the team and get into a consistent role before you had to kind of make that decision of which route you're going to go.
Right.
So
that's really
different.
It's really interesting, because you always think, well, they're going to have to go serve in the military, so those pro opportunities are going to have to wait. So I wasn't sure. Did you have very many Canadians on your team? Because I know I've looked at those rosters before. Was it mostly United States guys?
Yeah, it was. So to get into school, you have to be an American or at least dual citizenship.
Okay.
So we didn't have any dual citizen Canadians, I believe.
Okay.
We might have had one dual citizenship but he left after his freshman year. But we had a dual citizen with Germany, actually.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
He's there now. But his dad, when he was born, was working over in Germany and that whole
Air
thing.
Force base out there then, probably. Okay.
Yeah, so he was a dual citizen coming in, and I forget the exact rule if you have to like give up the dual citizenship when you join the Air Force or something like that, but I don't remember the exact rule, but
it's fascinating because every once in a while I'll look at the roster and I'll see somebody from another country. I'm like, well, how does that work? So thank you for clearing.
Yeah.
Thank you for clearing. I always wondered about that. So especially with a sport like hockey, it probably doesn't affect like basketball and football as much, but it's very interesting. So you're at Offutt right now. Mm-hmm. Did you get a choice of where? Did you get to choose?
Yeah. So for me, it was a little different, but just the general population, I guess, at school. You put in a preference sheet for your jobs, and then once you get your job, they give you a list of bases. This is where this job is located. And then you put in a preference sheet of this is where I want to go. And it's kind of a mix of, I guess, class rank and some other things. Just kind of where you'll end up on the list and what priority you're going to get. But for me, for my job, I do a separate application for it a year in advance. Okay. So when I put in my kind of preference sheet for where I want to go, it was kind of a shot in the dark. You know, I could have written down 5 bases that didn't have any openings, but they had no way of knowing just because, you know, who's going to move, who's retiring, who's joining, whatever. So I was just happy to get something on my list because it was a shot in the dark. And I had 2 teammates above me who got the same job and had to do the same thing, just kind of guess about, you know, where the slots are going to be open and just hope that something on their list is open. Because they didn't get the, you know, condensed, you know, real-time list the following year. So I was just kind of happy to get something on the list.
I'm glad that you got Omaha, considering that you had thought about going to Creighton. And, we're glad to have you. We get Jason. Jason hasn't lived here. I've lived here my whole life. And you'll get people from all over the country coming to StratCom. And it's cool to meet some of the new people from around the country. And some of them make Omaha their home, and some of them are here for a while and they move on. But we'll see. So if you decide to make Omaha your home,
come to some UNO
games. Become a season ticket holder. Yeah. Come back on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be at some games this year for sure.
Yeah. Come sit by us. Yeah. Plenty of seats up there. We can get you some stuff.
Sounds good.
That's right.
I want to know. So I listened to a podcast earlier today, and they were talking to some former NHLers about the buildings that they remember, the buildings that they liked to play in. You know, obviously your home building's always going to be on the tops of the list, but, you know, outside of your home building, what were some of your favorite places to play?
I mean, out of the consistent places we play, obviously, you know, it would have been hard to match, you know, Baxter's opening night environment. You know, hard to top that one. But as far as like in conference, like people we played all the time, RIT for sure. It was a blast playing there every time, and just kind of like being the villain going into that building because of that rivalry too. Just kind of like I loved that, just kind of being the villain going into another building. We had a lot of success in their building, which made it even better. But their rink is relatively new. Seating all the way around. I think it's like one of the best college environments there. Okay. Their students are packed for warm-ups. They have they did their research the night before on social media or whatever. Like I think, they'd have like the goalie's like girlfriend pasted on the glass with like one of their players photoshopped in, or like know the goalie's mom's name and start chanting that and like stuff like that. And for warm-ups, they're just packed. People aren't even in their seats yet, and they're packed, all wearing orange jerseys. It was never silent in there. Every whistle, every TV timeout, they had a synchronized cheer, just going nuts.
That's awesome.
Leaning over the glass, just pounding on it. So it was I was jealous for sure. They had
that's an
awesome environment to play in. So they were great. Army, they packed it for us because they with the chair force
service academy version of in-state.
That's right.
Yeah. Those are probably the couple of places, at least in conference, that were awesome to play in for sure.
Yeah, I'm really surprised Navy doesn't have a Division I hockey team.
Seriously,
that would be great.
Especially because their club program has been very solid for a number of years.
Yeah.
And so I think Air Force and Army every year are like, hey, come on.
It'd be great. It'd be another great rival for the Air Force Academy. So that'd be awesome.
Even back in the late 90s when I went to college, they came up and wiped the floor with us.
Yeah, they've got a really good club team. Yeah.
Oceans aren't frozen. How are you playing hockey?
So it'd be interesting to see if they do add a team eventually, just because college hockey is growing. I mean, you got Arizona State, so I mean, see if they'll add on.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else you got?
What else do I got? I don't know.
Are you done?
I don't know. I think so. Let me ask you this, because we always talk about college hockey realignment and college hockey expansion. So this is kind of one of those like big picture things. Could you ever see Air Force, as much as you enjoyed playing in Atlantic hockey, could you ever see them like in the NCHC as a conference? Could you see them having the compete level, wanting to do that, or are they a better fit where they are now?
I think we definitely could. I think that has bounced around a little bit before, as far as the NCHC, especially them being a powerhouse. CC's on the rise, and they've kind of held their own in that league. I mean, they hit a bit of a rough patch for sure since the WCHA disbanded. But yeah, I think that'd be interesting. A lot better for travel, but
you guys could bus to a lot more places in that conference.
Well, heck, you could walk to CC.
So I think from that aspect it'd be a better fit. But I know we've been asked quite a bit to join like the WCHA, which I think would be a really good fit as well in that league. Just kind of the style of play. Travel is still kind of, for us, it's like traveling, since we've been traveling every other week to the East Coast. It's kind of like whatever, send us wherever. But so I think that'd be interesting if the kind of landscape of college hockey changes, and if we would stay in the Atlantic, or if hockey eventually just spreads like wildfire out west. If we'd ever join a new conference out there. Or something
with like Denver and CC and some of the other Western teams.
Arizona State. And
see if the
Pac-12 maybe some of the California schools starting programs.
They've talked about UNLV starting one. So it's very interesting. And Air Force is always a solid Division I academy, so they'd be a great one to have in there. But years ago, before there was some of the realignment back in the late 90s, Air Force was in College Hockey America with some of the other independent teams. And for a couple seasons, they played their championship out at the Tri-City Arena in Kearney, Nebraska. And it was, Bridget and I went out there those 2 years, and it was a lot of fun. So it was interesting to see where all the teams ended up. And when they ended up in Atlantic hockey, I'm like, man, they've got to fly a lot of places. But it's the Air Force Academy, so that's not a problem. So
they've got planes.
Yeah, they got planes. So
I think that'd be interesting. We've had success when we played, either just a non-conference weekend versus NCHC or WCHA schools. We've done well against them in the NCAA tournament. So it'd be interesting to see, string a full season together, what we could do, because in a NCAA tournament, one and done sort of situation. I think we always enjoyed that underdog kind of like chip on our shoulder, like, hey, they don't respect us. We play a sound system, which playing the NCHC schools, it was definitely more of a fluid, skilled game.
Sure.
And for us, it was always a little more structured defensively.
Yep.
We could skate well, which I think surprised a lot of teams when we would get them in those situations where it's like, oh, the game's a little closer than we thought it would. But that'd be interesting to see if we could hold up over a whole season versus that caliber of a schedule for sure.
Sure.
So, who do you still follow college hockey. You're pretty fresh out of school. And so it's still something I'm sure that's on your radar. This season, who's your pick to win it all? Who are you kind of keeping an eye on? Are you going to jump on the Minnesota bandwagon again?
Oh, no, I don't know about that, but I don't know about pick to win it all. I have one of my best friends from high school. He plays for St. Cloud still, which they don't come down to UNO this year, I don't think. So
no, just one series in December up there.
Yeah,
so
up
my,
there.
my niece is I think she's a junior. I'm not sure exactly what academic year at St. Cloud. So we've gone up there the last few years. So it's always a fun trip.
I think that'd be cool just as a hometown guy, just kind of see them get over the hump, because I know losing to us and then losing to AIC, I know they're getting a lot of heat for that. So that'd be cool to see that, and they're a hell of a team. And then growing up, I was always a Notre Dame fan, just mainly football, but obviously their hockey program has come on in the last 10 years or so. So, maybe Notre Dame. Air Force actually opens up at Notre Dame. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll be out there for, because the Notre Dame football team plays USC that weekend too, so I'll be out there.
Oh, that'll be a cool weekend.
Falcon hockey and Irish football, so that'll be a fun weekend just to kind of reconnect with the guys too. But, I think St. Cloud or Notre Dame, I'd pull for sure.
Have you been to that hockey rink at Notre Dame?
Yeah, I actually, I was, because two of my older brothers went to Notre Dame, and I was there for opening night when they played BC at the new arena.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, that rink was awesome too. It's just...
That's a great facility for them. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll be out there cheering the guys on and seeing how they're doing.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun series to go to.
I'm game.
Yeah.
If we do.
I'll go watch any hockey.
And it's not that
You're like, my Knights are playing this weekend. All right, I'll go.
Yeah, and not bad with USC being in town either. Those two teams hate each other. So
that'll be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it'll be a fun campus atmosphere. Hockey, football, no matter what, the campus will be bumping for sure.
Definitely. Well, I don't have any more questions for our
it's been great talking to you. I had, when Jason mentioned interviewing you for the podcast, I thought, I've got so many questions about the Air Force Academy, having watched them, having them come into Omaha over the years. It's been great. And so it's just been really informative. Yeah. And I've learned a lot today. And I think the people out who listen to the podcast learned a lot too. So it'll be great.
I hope that it's really interesting for the listeners and stuff here, and from someone who was on the ice at the first game at Baxter and that experience for you, and it's just great that you were willing to come on the podcast and talk to us, and we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And good luck with your service commitment and your future endeavors, and whatever the future holds, we wish you well, and maybe we'll have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll be here for a few years.
That's right. And hopefully we'll see you at a game. Just let us know. We can get you hooked up with tickets.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah. Sure will. Thank you.
Yeah, so for our listeners, we appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully you enjoy this kind of break from the norm of us babbling on about whatever happened last weekend. And keep tuning in, keep listening, and we'll keep putting the podcast out. But
that's right.
John's got our usual sign-off, right?
So with that, be sure to follow Mavpuck on Facebook and Twitter. You can find links to those at mavpuck.com. And until we talk to you next time, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.